For what? For what? I was getting out the street. No, you weren't. You were in the middle of the street. Okay. Stay there, dog. Stay on the hood. My tempo, guys. Call my police feeling, dog. Now you're going to jail.
Well, I think in Austin, police brutality has always been a problem.
They're out of control. Downtown is a serious, serious problem.
The police management is unable to effectively discipline officers.
Police don't tell the truth all the time.
The fundamental root is accountability.
There are a lot of bad police. There is a need to police them.
They're not disciplined.
If you can't do something about the core small number of officers who keep causing the actual problems, they're going to be there to cause those problems again.
It's discipline. I joined the Austin Police Department April the 17th of 1959, and I served approximately 30 years. At the time that I joined, there were only 6 blacks in the Austin Police Department. I was walking 11th Street, 12th Street, I walked 6th Street, and we actually got out in the community. If I would see you working in the yard, I would stop, introduce myself, give you my card, tell you if I could be of any assistance to you, to give me a call. Officers now will pass by and won't even speak.
There is a big difference between the 6th Street police and the rest of the police. And all you need to do is talk to police officers and they'll admit it. They put folks down on 6th Street, young rookies, and once you're there, you don't get out. And high burnout rate. And that's one area, club area, where you have to have a lot of patience and a lot of skill and wisdom in dealing with people. And that's really where you want to have somebody who's been around a while. I know it's looked at as a very undesirable assignment, and other officers in the department look down on the 6th Street officers. So I think that feeds into part of the way they react to the way that they do.
I mean, if you go down there, you'll see APD lined up in circles with their billy clubs, with their guns, with their tasers, and I mean, that's intimidating. That makes people not even want to go down to 6th Street and have fun.
When you look at downtown Austin, you see where that's where the youngest officers are, according to some of the studies I've seen. And that's where officers go to get some action. You have officers there who are just disposed towards jumping on people and engaging in physical activity. I think they thrive on it. They look for it. They want to do it, and they realize it because they have the uniform that they can get away with it. And we shouldn't allow people to do that because it gives other officers a bad name.
We all hear on the news and respond to a police killing, and that's obviously the most grotesque form of abuse. But there are lesser significant abuses that happen all the time. And by that I mean minor infringements on your right to freely associate. When the police shake down an African American on 6th Street just because they're there. That's a violation of rights too. You're not going to read about it in the newspaper, but it happened to that individual, and it happens to individuals all the time, and collectively they feel that pain.
I've seen a number of cases involving individuals who were basically victimized by being at the wrong place at the wrong time. People who were not aggressive, people who simply questioned or raised issues regarding police who had the audacity to say that you shouldn't do this.
I seen a cop walking down the street, and me and my homie, we like bagged up and got out the way. And by the time he got down to like the so-called fight that was going on, he had went through the crowd looking for the suspect. And after he found them, he used like excessive force on him. He grabbed him and he just picked him up off the ground with such force that it was like unbelievable. And I had told one of my friends I thought what he was doing was like, it wasn't justified. So he told me that I need to get out the street. But out of those words, he was using like profanity towards me. And at that point, I proceeded to walk to the curb. He go to grab my left arm. And at that point, I moved away from him and said, well, you don't have to grab my arm because I'm doing what you told me to do. And the next thing I know, he grabbed my arm anyway and decided he was gonna give me a ticket for being a pedestrian in the roadway. And I was like, okay, well, I'm cool with that. I'll take my ticket and I'll leave. Then he said, well, better yet, we're just gonna walk to my squad car. So as we proceeded to walk eastbound on 6th Street, it's like all of a sudden he just started twisting my wrist and pushing my arms towards the sky. And at that point, I'm walking I'm like, it's unbelievable that it's happening to me. So as we got to the squad car, he slammed me on the car with such force that I raised up. And I told one of my friends that was across the street to call my moms and them and let them know what was going on. The next thing I know, he slammed me on the squad car again with such force that I slid down the hood of the car and I bounced to my feet and told him, better yet, call my uncle, because he's an APD police officer, to let him know what was going on. And at that time, the officer told me that he really don't care who my uncle was. And then next thing I know, I just feel my head hit the concrete. Everything went black. I started coming to, and I'm steady asking for help. But the officer was telling me that there was nothing wrong with you, you're faking your injuries.
Now you're going to jail. Why you reaching for your pocket? Get him in the car.
Now we need to get a camera and take him around.
He's acting like he's passed out. You feel shit. My head, ball. My head, ball. Your head's fine. What happened to his head? My head, ball. My head, ball. When I took him down, he started going for his pocket. My head, ball. Was there anything in his pocket? No, cell phone. Oh, my head. Got a van coming, I got EMS coming for this moron who's pretending to be unconscious.
So I hear the EMS coming. They asked me what happened, what was going on. I told them that what happened. So they said, well, we got to put a neck brace on you. And at that point, I was so emotional that I started crying because I was in shock. So they put me on a gurney, told me that I was going to the hospital because they wanted to do an x-ray to make sure I didn't have nothing wrong with me. So as we riding in the back of the EMS, the officer was steady telling me that I wasn't going to the hospital, I was going to jail. So they took me out of the EMS, reeled me to the front, and told me to swing my feet to the left and get off the gurney. And once I done it, when I stood up, everything started spinning. So I asked the officer if he could give me a second so I can gather myself. And he told me, well, no, just come on and keep walking. So once I started walking, I stumbled. And I told him I really need a moment to gather myself. He told me if I stumble again, he was gonna let me fall. We go downtown to booking, and then when I sit at the booking on the bench, I see my friend sitting next to me. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing down here? And he said, after they slammed you on the concrete and you wasn't moving, I tried to come and check on you, and they wouldn't let me check on you. They said I was interfering with public duties. So he said after he walked back to the curb, it was like 6 laws that bum rushed him and took him to jail. That following Monday, I filed my complaint with Mr. Flynn Lee at Internal Affairs. So the investigator told me, well, it's gonna take about 6 months. They have up to 6 months to do an investigation. And about 3 months passed, she had told me, she said, well, I got some good news. We found a film that caught everything on tape. They sent me a letter in the mail saying that the investigation was complete and that the proper steps would be taken to rectify the situation. They finally dismissed all my charges, saying that they're just gonna dismiss them, that I didn't have to go to court no more. So then after everything was complete and I got all my paperwork, I decided to go to the Texas Civil Rights Project and talk to Mr. Harrington and file a civil suit.
His case reflects quite a number of cases that go on in Austin, except that his was very different because it was caught on tape. And so you wonder how many people are wrongly convicted and brutalized by the police who routinely lie about what they're doing.
Had it not been for that video, the police would have won the case. Police don't tell the truth all the time. They're gonna tell what meets their needs. And I don't know how you're gonna correct that.
There's a very fundamental problem with the city of Austin and the disciplining of the police. Lying, which is to me one of the worst things a police officer can do, is to lie under oath and actually get promoted, I think is reflective of what happens in Austin in the police department, in that the discipline is very, very bad. It's very mixed. Sometimes the police chief will be harsh, generally he's not. Often the police union intervenes and gets it lessened. And so the result of the system is that ultimately you don't have an effective disciplinary system, one that teaches the officers that what they're doing is wrong and sends a message to everybody else: if you do this, you're going to suffer some kind of harsh discipline. And we don't see that in Austin. And I think as a result of not seeing that, the pattern of misconduct continues in the fashion that it does.